1421 Park Avenue has, we're going to continue this?
That because there's some remaining environmental review questions about it.
Okay.
So
Can I get, do we need a motion on that?
it would be great.
Yeah, can I get a motion
So
on?
moved.
Second. Get a second?
What?
We're continuing 1421. All right, can you call a roll, please?
Aye.
Sure, Commissioner.
Any comments on that?
Yeah. Oh,
You want
I
to,
mean, he's
I don't
been
know,
here all
Kenny.
night,
yeah.
you know.
Okay. Do I have to open the public hearing?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I just wanted to give you a brief history, and then I wanted to ask Claudia for, I spoke to her earlier for some of the, for an explanation on the continuation. Originally, I got, when I submitted the application, I got approval for commercial use to a building that I was moving that was designed as residential use. And on the general conditions and compliance that I received for the commercial use of this building that was designed for residential use, item number E said no residential uses shall be permitted on the site without the proper written clearances as required from the appropriate state, federal, and regional agencies pertaining to contamination of the site. And then it also said in item G that the approval for the use permit and design review shall not become effective until the applicant has submitted written documentation from Alameda County Department of Environmental Health to the city, which approves the exposure risk management plan, the health and safety plan, the underground storage tank closure work plan, and in-place closure as identified in the project plan matrix. I complied with the county and the State Water Resources Board. A letter was submitted from them addressed to Claudia on March 25th, stating that I complied with that and that they recommended, just to read it to you, and I'll give you the closing paragraph, ACDEH in conjunction with the Regional Water Quality Control Board staff toxicologist have approved SOMA's risk assessment reported December 1st, 1997. Based on the results of the risk assessment, Mr. Silberman's installation of vapor barrier and electrocoating zincs continue remediation of the site. ACDEH and the Regional Water Quality Control Board staff toxicologists determined that no further action is warranted at this time. I received a building permit for residential use with the understanding that I needed the concurrence from the agencies. This is the Regional Water Quality Control Board and the state. In fact, I'll just read you the paragraph if you wanted to hear it. That I was in compliance and that I could then receive I needed an amended use permit for the residential use. And okay, give me 1 second here for this letter. Anyway, what I'm saying essentially is that I've received the approval from the various agencies, and being that this has gone on for quite a while, I wanted to find out if the staff can do an administrative approval without me having to come back and wait another month, because it's gone on for quite a while. And as far as my compliance with all the conditions that have been set forth to date, I've met those. So I don't fully understand what documentation that the Planning Commission still needs that was not provided previously to Claudia and Mike.
I can address that. When the project came up to you originally, there was a negative declaration that was adopted that was basically limited to viewing and assessing this project as a commercial project only. So there is a question about the any supplemental documentation that would need to be added or incorporated into the environmental review that was originally done for this project, with the inclusion or the amendment to make it a housing project. In addition to that, at this point, Ron has brought up a good point about the original conditions of approval and how they're worded, but I am not at this point ready to give him a conclusory statement about whether it can be administratively addressed. And there is a question about housing in a industrial district in general requiring a use permit that was not addressed at the initial stages when you were looking at it originally. So I believe there's a good argument to be made that an amendment is required anyway. I realize it's been a while, and I apologize for that. There's been delays in processing this. There's also the question about the appropriate uses of a highly contaminated site or previously highly contaminated site, and I think it's an important issue to review and consider carefully before we look at housing. And it will come back to you as soon as I can. But at this point, I'm not prepared to make any further comments. Do you have anything to add?
I'd like to make one comment, is the staff, your staff has relied on the outside agencies all along and have not taken a position on this due to the contamination because you didn't have the expertise nor the inside staff to deal with it, and so you've relied on outside agencies, and the outside agencies have given their concurrence and approval on the use. So it's a little confusing. And in the conditions where it says no residential uses shall be permitted on the site without the prior written clearances as required from the appropriate agencies, I read that and interpret that as to say that residential uses shall be permitted with the appropriate clearances. Now,
I don't agree with that at all, that statement that you just made. I agree with the aspect that one of the conditions is that you meet the requirements of those outside agencies, but there are other conditions, city-specific, that we may have issues with, and I think that's where Claudia is coming from.
I understand.
Okay.
But this whole project all along was based on receiving residential use, even though I was given a commercial use permit.
I don't understand what you mean by that.
When I made I have a permit.
You have a permit
for residential
use. You don't have any permit for residential use.
Yes, I do. I have a building permit for residential use.
Well, then we'll go look at that tomorrow and we'll go deal with that. But you do not have
a. And it's strictly the construction standards that are used.
All he has is a use permit to put in commercial uses. He doesn't have a use permit to put in residential.
No, I don't. I didn't say that I did.
So your building permit, to the extent it says anything about residential, is void. It's worthless.
Well, it's not what it states.
Well,
and I mean, I don't want
to position.
Discuss the semantics of it, but it's just very frustrating that it's taken this long.
I haven't seen any of your reports from the county.
Claudia does have those, and she's had those for quite a while.
Well,
so I understand what the fact that you have not had a chance to review these, even though they've been submitted since March. So I would ask that if it's possible to do this administratively.
No. There's been no analysis from our end. You may have had the county look at it, and I haven't even looked at those reports, but there's been no analysis on our end to look at residential or live work. Certainly there's no conditions that are already applied to your project that any of them deal with any sort of residential or live work use, and those will be imposed if that is something that the commission wants to approve. There are standard live work, and are you going for live work?
I understand what you're saying.
So, I mean, I'll be quite honest with you, I have some real concerns about sticking housing on there, especially when part of the requirement from what you've read is the continuing ongoing remediation efforts of somebody who is off-site. It's not within the property owner's control. It's nothing that you can control.
The documentation has all been submitted, and including...
I know it is, and you're relying on the neighbor next door to continue with their ongoing cleanup of the chromium in the ground there.
Which is almost complete.
It may be on the ground, but it's not in the groundwater. It's still there.
Well, I think that you obviously have not seen the reports nor read the reports, and that you need to. And it's just...
We will read them, and to the extent you're relying on somebody else to continue with their remediation efforts is, you know, you may sell these things and be off and gone, and then an issue arises, and it's going to be the city stuck in the middle,
Well,
dealing with some sort of contamination issue, and residents who are asking now, suddenly you have to get out of your property.
I think this, excuse me, I think this is a discussion that, Ron, that you need to have with Mike, and just, I think we get the message that we need